Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is Charan. In this video tutorial, I will explain in Django web applications how to search records using stored procedures with radio button controls. Now let's check the final output. Here first we got the headers, after that two radio button, one button control. Below that we got the records is displaying from this student table. Let's search the female records search. So here we got the female records. In our table we have only two female records, Rani and Mamata. Let's check for male records. We got all the male records. That's it. If you are a first time visitor to my channel, please subscribe to get the latest updates. Before creating a new Django web application, first we'll check the table in PHP MyAdmin database, which is MySQL server. The table name is a student which contains three columns: student ID, student name and gender. Now my aim is I want to search records based on the gender using stored procedures with radio button controls. So now let's create a new stored procedure in the Charan database. Click the procedures. Now let's create a new stored procedure. Click add routine. The procedure name is radio button and search is my stored procedure name. Now after adding the stored procedure name, now the next step, the type is a procedure only, and now we require the parameters because we are passing the gender value. So input direction, let's select the in direction, and the name is student gender is a variable and the type is a varchar. The length of the values I'm adding 1. Now let's write the definition here, begin, and after that I'm adding end. Now between this begin and end I'm writing the code select student ID, comma, student name, comma, and the last column name is a gender from the student table where I'm searching the records based on the gender. So gender is equals to the value we are getting from this name gender, semicolon. Now let's create a stored procedure. Click go, and the stored procedure has been created successfully. See here, RB search. Let's execute the stored procedure. Now I want to display the records, the value I'm adding, the male. Click go, and here we got the results of the table. It's showing the users which are the gender male. Let's open the table. We'll check. I'm opening in a new table. In the student table we have 1 2 3 4 males. So here we got 4 males. Let's search for the female F. Click go. So here we got 2 females in our student table. So here female Rani and Mamata. Now let's call this stored procedure in Django web application to display records on a template. In order to create a Django web application, first we require a new folder. So I'm creating a new folder in E drive. Right click the mouse, go to new and select folder. And the folder name is Django search radio button with stored procedure SP is the folder name. Let's browse this folder. Right now this folder is totally empty. Now we'll create a new application in this folder. I'm using Visual Studio Code to create a Django web application. But before creating a Django application, first we'll add the folder which we have created in the E drive. So go to file, then select open folder. The folder I have created in the E drive, this is our folder, Django search RB SP stored procedure. Click select folder. And here the folder is successfully added to our Visual Studio Explorer panel. At the right side we got the welcome page. Let's close this welcome page. Now in this folder we'll create a new Django application. For that, go to view and select terminal. And here we got our terminal, which is nothing but a PowerShell or command prompt. On the PowerShell, notice the path is the E drive, this is our folder, this is the folder name, and now I am creating a new application in this folder, Django-admin start project, and the project name is radio button search is my application name. So RB search is my application name, is created successfully. Let me expand this app, and when I expand this app, there is one subfolder with the same project name and one manage.py Python file. Let me allow this subfolder also. I'm expanding the subfolder. Now in the subfolder contains some default Python files like settings.py, URLs, all these Python files and folders has been created automatically when I create this application RB search. So after creating the project, now the next step, we'll add one templates folder to render our HTML pages. So select the application name, right click the mouse, click new folder, and the folder name is a templates folder. Now in this folder templates, I'm adding one HTML page, right click the templates folder, click new file, and the file name is index.html. And here we got our index page, index.html page. Now before adding the designing part in this page, now first let's add the models page in this subfolder of our application. Select the subfolder, right click the mouse, click new file, and the file name is models.py. And here we got our models page. Now this models page, in this Python page, will add a class which contains the properties. But before adding the properties, we need to import the models class from django.db import models. After that, I'm adding a class called student model. In this model, I'm defining the models.model, M is capital here, colon. Let's define the properties. If you notice in our table, there is a table, this is a table, student table, there are three columns. So I require three properties, student ID, student name, and gender. So let's create that one. Student ID is equals to models dot student ID is a primary key, so I'm adding the integer field, this integer type, and its primary key is equals to true. The next one is the student name is equals to models dot char field max length. I'm adding the maximum length of this column is 100. Then we require the gender, the last column name, models dot char field. I'm adding max length under is equals to 1. And after that, I'm adding one more class in this class, and this class is called meta class. In this meta class, I'm just defining my table name. So add db underscore table is equals to between double quotes. My table name is student table. Copy that one and paste here. That's it. Let's save this file. Save all. After adding the models page, now we require the views page. So let's add one new views page in this subfolder of our application. Select the subfolder, right click the mouse, click new file, and the file name is views.py. And here we got the views.py. In this views.py, which contains the actual logic, will write the logic to search the records from the database. So before that, let's import the necessary classes. First, let's import from django.shortcuts import. I'm importing the render class. So basically, this render class in Django application, when we want to render our HTML pages, we require this render class. So after that, I require this models page also in this views page. So let's import that one also. My models page. Here it is, the models page is inside my application. So RB search my application name dot models import. That model name is a student model. After that, let's define a function called student search. Is a method name. The function name contains a request colon. This function return. I want to render. Requesting the template name is index.html, comma. Now the third parameter is, first I want to display all the records from the table. After that, we'll add the functionality, the search filter functionality. So To display all the records from the database, from the student model class, we require one object. So student stobj is an object name. Student model dot objects dot all method. This code displays all the records. It fetches all the records. Now let's copy this one, and this object we are adding here with the help of the dictionary. So I am adding a dictionary. A dictionary contains the keys and values. Here the key name is the data. I am adding data. You can add any name for the key, but the values we are getting from this object. So I am pasting that object. That's it. This line of code displays all the records from the student table. Let's save this file, save all. Now we need to configure the URLs also. In urls.py, let's configure from .import views. In the URL patterns, let's define a new path, and this path will become the default path of our application, which is our home page. Comma views dot the template, this index.templates I want to render with the help of this function name. So I am adding this function name here in this path. That's it. Let's save this file. Now open settings.py. In the settings.py, first come to the install underscore app section. We need to add here my application name. My project name is RB Search. So I am installing my application in this install underscore apps. Then come to the bottom, and the template section, notice the directories object here, directories. In the template section, notice the directories here. Here I'm joining my templates folder with the base directory. So let's add that one. os.path dot join method base directory, comma between single quotes. Let's add the templates. This templates folder I'm adding here. All my external pages I am saving in this folder, templates. And now the final section, the database is, and if you notice the database default engine is a SQLite 3, but my database is a MySQL. Now let's delete this default database name, and our database name is a student table I have created in this Charan database. So let's add the Charan database. Then what I'll do is we require the user also. User is root, comma, and the password, colon. The password here I am leaving blank because I don't have any password to log into my PHP my admin database. If you have any password, please enter between these single quotes. Next thing, we require the host of our database, which is a local host, comma, and I require the port number also. The port number of my SQL database is 3308. Let's add that one, 3308, comma, and the last one I'm adding the options. Put in the capital letters, options, colon, curly brackets, between single quotes. I'm initializing the command, column between double quotes. Let's set the SQL mode. I'm setting the SQL mode is equals to between single quotes strict underscore trans underscore tables. That's it. We have configured the database connection string also in this settings.py. Let's save this file. And now let's open index.html. In the index.html, let's add the doc type first. HTML, close the HTML tag. After that, I'm adding the header section. In the header section, I'm adding the title. The title is search records, and I'm adding the body tag. Inside the body tag, I'm adding the center tag. In the center tag, I'm adding the headers, how to search records with a radio button from MySQL PHP my admin database. After that, I'm adding HT tag, Django, web tutorials. After the headings, I'm adding horizontal line. After the horizontal line, first I want to display all the records in the table elements. So I'm adding a table, and this table I'm adding a property called border. Then TR table rows. In this table rows, I'm adding the table headers. In our table, we have 3 columns. So the student name, student ID. First one is the student ID. DH student name, DH gender. After that, between double curly brackets. After that, between curly brackets, I'm adding for loop to fetch the records from the database. For loop for a result is a object in the data we are getting from this key, dictionary key. Let's copy that one data, paste here. Let's close with percentage. After that, let's close this for loop also with end for. Then let's add the TRs, then TD. In this TD, I'm adding an expression. The expression contains a double curly brackets, which contains the result dot student ID. We need to add the column, exact column names what we have added in the table headers, table column names. Between double curly brackets, again I'm adding result of student name. Then the last column is the gender, result dot gender. That's it. We have done the coding part to fetch the records and display on the browser on this template index.html in Django application. So let's save this application first. Now, before adding the radio button functionality, search functionality, we'll check the output, how it looks, the designing part on the browser. So before run the server, we need to add my application name to this path, cd my application name. Then let's run the server, python manage.py run server. See, after I run the server, we don't have any issues in our application. Below that, we got our web server link. So let's browse that with Ctrl plus mouse click. Here we got the output of our application, the header tags. Below that, we got the table. These are the table records is displaying here. Now let's add the search functionality with this radio button using stored procedures. So here in the headings, let's add stored procedure also from MySQL. Add the break stored procedures. So this file. Now let's reload stored procedures. Now after the horizontal line, first I'm adding 2 radio button elements and 1 button control. So input type is equals to radio and the value is equals to mail. Pipe symbol I'm adding. Let's copy this one and paste here, and this one is a female. This one is female. After that, I'm adding 1 button control. Input type is equals to submit, and the value of the button is such. Let's close the button control. Now let's save this file, save all. We'll add 1 more horizontal line so it looks good. Save this file again. Switch to the browser or reload the browser. So here we got the 2 button controls and 2 radio button elements and 1 button control. Now let's add the functionality. When a user select any of the gender with the radio button, from the radio button, I want to display that selected radio button values. So again switch back to the Visual Studio, go to views. In this results I'm adding if request dot method double equals to post colon, here I'm adding gender is equals to request dot post dot get method between single quotes. Here we're getting the values from the radio button control. So in the index.html, let's add the property called name is equals to gender. Let's copy this name gender and add to the female radio button also. Switch to the views page. Let's add here the gender, the name property of the radio button control. Then we require the object called show search results. Show search is a variable student model dot objects dot raw method. In this raw method I'm calling my stored procedure. Now in this raw method I'm calling my stored procedure. So let's add between double quotes, switch to the database. So let's copy the stored procedure, the call stored procedure, copy that one, paste here. Let's delete this single quote for this stored procedure name, and here I'm adding between single quotes, between double quotes, plus plus, and let's delete this semicolon. Now between this plus plus, the selected values we are getting from this variable gender. That's it. After that, we return function. This function return render request comma index.html. I is capital here, index.html comma between double curly brackets I'm adding the dictionary data colon, the values we are getting from the search results we are getting from this variable show search. Then else part. In the else part, if the user is not searching anything, I want to display all the records. So here also I am adding, instead of all method, I am adding raw query between single quotes, select student ID, student name, gender from student. I am adding this table name, student ID, student name, and gender column names here. That's it. Let's save this file, save all. Now again switch over to the index.html. Now here after the horizontal line I am adding the form tag because we are posting the data. So the method I am adding here, the post. I'm closing this form tag after the table element. Then again come to this form tag. After the form tag I'm adding a command called csrf underscore token. This is very important step in Django applications when we are posting data. So we need to add csrf underscore token. This token, it protects our data from the hackers when we are posting the data in applications. That's it. We have done the complete coding part. Let's save this file. Save all. Now it's time to check the results on the output. I'm reloading the browser. So after reload the browser, now let's check the final output. Here first we got the headers. After that 2 radio button, 1 button control. Below that we got the records is displaying from this student table. Let's search the female records search. So here we got the female records. In our table we have only 2 female records, Rani and Mamata. Let's check for male records. got all the mail records. That's it. And using stored procedures in Django applications, how to implement the search filter functionality with radio buttons. First, I have created this call stored procedure, then I call the stored procedure to implement the search filter functionality with radio button controls in Django application.